So, hi everyone. My name's Barbara Handysides, and I'm president of the Royal Oak Historical Association. And today we're here visiting with Evelyn Paterson and her friend Lorraine Hartley. And there originally was going to be a third lady, but unfortunately she is not very well. And it's kind of a shame because these three gals have been together since they were 15 and 16. And I hope you don't mind, but they are now all 92. So they've had a good life together, and not just a life, but they worked together, they played together, and they all worked for the BC Telephone Company, starting with Babe at the age of 15 and Evelyn and Lorraine at the age of 16. So thank you very much, Evelyn, for having us in your home, and thank you, Lorraine, for joining us. And I'm just sorry your friend Babe can't be with us, but I'm sure she's with us in spirit.
For sure.
So one of the first things I wanted to know was, how long has your family been here on the island? When did you come to the island?
We came to the island in October of 1939.
And where did you come from?
Saskatoon.
Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm sure you appreciated the weather here a lot.
Oh, well, we were kids when we came, so the snow was was great, but we didn't really know that it was all that bad at all here.
Yeah.
We thought it was lovely here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Evelyn, when did your family first come to Victoria?
1943 from Alberta. We drove in a little old gray Chevy with suitcases strapped to the top, and my sister and I in the back, packed in the back. we stayed with friends here who were already here. Lived in the front of their house in 2 rooms for 6 months. Then my dad got a house. Stayed there.
Your dad built the house?
Dad, he bought an older place, a wreck actually, and made it into a lovely home and sold it, and then bought a farm. You know, that's the way they made extra money.
So at the age of 16, when you first joined the telephone company, where were you living at that time?
We're living on Conway Road, which is out by Camosun College.
Right, okay.
Interurban Camosun College.
Yeah.
Out that direction, yeah.
So not too far away from where your office was. And where did your family settle, Lorraine?
We came to Victoria and lived on Graham Street for a year, and then we moved to the corner of Catherine and Skinner and lived there for about 6, I think. And then we went from there to Helen Road, which is off of Wilkinson, and stayed there until I was, I guess I left home when I was about 23. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like at the age of 16, like you guys, had you finished school, or did you say, I need to work and not go to school?
Well, the summertime came, and my mother and dad saw the job being advertised and told me I should go down and apply.
Oh.
So I went down and applied, and they hired me. So I just never went back to school because I had already convinced my mother to let me go to the Catholic school, which was St. Anne's Academy,
right?
Because I knew the sister would make me do the schoolwork, which I wasn't doing, you know. So, but I just stayed working.
Yeah.
I worked for 7 years for them.
And Evelyn, what about you? How did you first get interested or involved?
Yeah, well, I saw it posted in McNutt's little store that they were looking for summer help. Went home and said to my mom and dad, I would like to do it. And they said, okay. I don't think my mom thought I had much hope because I was a bit of a tree climber, etc., you know, not a very settled person. And Miss Barr took me on, and I was there for 2 years.
Nice. And the office that you guys worked out of, where was that?
On Wilkinson Road, near the junction.
Corner of Dunsterville and Wilkinson.
Yeah. And that building's still there, isn't it?
It is.
But it's a home now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one closest to the road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the one with the flat front on the front.
Right. Yeah.
The only building, I think, along that road that has a flat front like that.
Yeah, yeah. So how many people were involved in this? How many operators were there working at that time?
When we shut it in 1954, there were 8 boards. So that means 8 people could be sitting at boards. And that was the maximum that system could handle. That's why when they were going automatic, ours was one of the first ones that they had to do because we couldn't go anymore in the system we had with the crank handles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you worked, it was 24-hour shifts, so every 8 hours there was a new group came in?
No, it wasn't that kind of a shift system, was it?
Then we had a 7 in the morning till 3.
Yeah.
Then there was a split shift from 8 to 12 and 2 to something. Then there was a night shift that went from 3 to 11. And then the night operator come on and she stayed on all night.
We were very fortunate at that office because we had one woman that worked the night shift who had another woman that did her days off. So we never had to work overnight.
Oh.
We just always had to work till 11. Yeah.
That was late enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At the age of 16, yeah, I would think so.
And
Yeah, yeah.
almost all of us walked back and forth to work.
No, I had a bike.
Yeah.
I had a mile and a half to ride home after my shift
Oh, gosh.
over that bumpy road.
But in those days, the cars on Interurban Road were minimal compared to what you see now.
Oh, yeah, for
Like
sure.
yeah.
sometimes you could walk, well, Evie could probably ride her bike from where she lived to Wilkinson Road and maybe not even meet a car.
And
Yeah.
if you did sell your car, I thought, who the heck's out this time of night?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was quite good. And I used to go from the office to Helen Road, which was up Wilkinson, and then turn up and go up Helen Road. And it was, you weren't scared like you'd be today.
No, times were different for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh gosh, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, you guys weren't like Lily Tomlin's One Ringy Dingy. Did you have a particular thing that you had to say when you were answering the phone, or a particular?
Well, some calls you said operator, and that they were kind of the local people knew, and you would connect them. And then their calls came from Victoria, you would say call quits,
Yeah.
and they would tell you what number they wanted. It was funny to start with. It was a funny system where then your telephone number might be 393X, which was 2 shorts and a long. You know that funny sound?
Yeah.
And then, there was about 7 people on every line.
Oh, yes.
Oh, gosh.
The maximum, I think, was 8. And the boards themselves had a little thing about like your thumb, and in the middle of the bottom of it, there was a little rod that came from behind. And when they cranked their handle, that little rod would go up and down, and it would drop. And that would tell you there was a call to be answered.
Yeah, and you'd plug into them.
You know.
Like you had a front plug and a back plug. You answered with one, and
There
you
were
gave
15
them the number with another other cord.
15 sets of cords on each board. And you could turn 2 boards together so you could have 30 strings of calls that you could make. I remember that because at Christmas, the first year I was there, I was left on the board by myself.
Oh dear.
And I was only a newbie. And I had all these cords all plugged in and everything, and there's drops are still coming in, and so I didn't know what to do. Nobody told me anything. So I pulled them all out. I said, well, I'll just start fresh here. Well, I did. I plug into this one. I got cut off. Oh, I'm sorry, and who were you talking to? That's the way,
Fibber.
huh?
Fibber.
What do you mean fibber?
You didn't know they were cut off?
Oh, well. You know, I wasn't going to tell them.
Whoops. Just a whoops, right?
Yeah.
So I think when we were yakking the other day and you brought these little forms out, this was the way you kept track.
Abby knows that better than
Okay.
I.
Yeah, so, yeah, this, the person that called, you would put their number down there, and then what time they called, when the call was ended, and then you turned it over to Miss Barr, and she would figure out the charge. We didn't have to do that.
No.
Well, we were a little bit too busy to do that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how busy you were.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, when there were 3 boards, you sat there for 4 hours just answering calls all the time.
Yeah.
It was a busy little office.
And was this the same?
Yeah, I don't recognize that one. It must have been a call from Victoria, the Victoria office, and yeah, I don't recognize that one at all.
No, I don't remember that one either. Could be when Victoria would be calling us.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And
that's the
then
thing.
we would be putting down who they called or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting work.
I can imagine.
I, you know, when I left, it wasn't because I didn't like the work. It was the shift work had my system totally screwed up. You know, you had 1 week of 3 to
7 to 3.
yeah.
And then the next week you'd be on a broken shift from 8 in the morning till noon, and then from 3 till 8 in the evening.
Oh, that doesn't
And
sound like
the
fun.
split shifts threw you for a loop because you didn't know when you're supposed to eat and when you could eat, and
Yeah,
it was
I know. I went on. I was on the verge of getting sick because
Oh.
it was
not good.
not good.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, "Hey, you better change your occupation."
Yeah.
So I went home and told Mom and Dad. Dad sponsored me to go to Spratshaw, and that's when I got to be an accountant.
So you were with the telephone company for 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I went to BC Electric for 7. Then I had Tess. Then I went. Where did I go next? Oh, I
Didn't you
went
go
to
back?
a chartered accountant doing income tax for 7 years. You know, you just roll from one job
Yeah,
to another.
for sure.
And
And
I stayed with BC Tel for 7 years, and I went downtown and worked. And I think I must have had 5 years in by then. And then I went from there to the main office in Victoria, where you were doing the automatic stuff, you know. And that's what, sometimes in the room that Babe and I got to live in, there'd be 8 people and we'd all be studying what we should be learning for this new system. It was quite an eye-opener for us,
I can
you
imagine.
know. But to have 8 people in one room and they're all trying to learn the same stuff, it was really interesting. We had some hilarious times.
Lorraine's talking about their apartment that her and Babe shared. This is not
And this
their
was a
workplace.
one-room
It's an apartment.
And we had a couch that made the bed. To this day, I don't know what we did with our clothes. Because in the closet, there was dishes on one side and a 3-burner hot plate in the other. But we never, and Babe and I never had a word between us. We never argued or fought about anything. We just did what we had to do. And we used to walk back and forth from Fairfield Road to the main office on Blanchard Street. It was hilarious, really.
I'd say a good time was had by all from
Oh,
the
for
sounds
sure.
of things.
And Babe and I used to come out of the house to go to work. We'd walk up Blanchard Street, and we'd walk at night. We might not get off till 11:30. We'd walk home the same way, and never have a worry in the world about anybody bothering you. We used to think we thought it was great.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about in the 50s now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be the late 50s. Because, well, from 54 on, eh?
Yeah, that's when the office closed, was 54.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
1954.
The Dunsterville Street
Yeah.
Yeah.
office closed.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. No, it was quite, and the St. Joseph's Hospital had the nurses' residence right on the corner where we had to turn and go up the hill. And it was just easy, not like nowadays where you'd be worried to death walking.
Yeah.
We had a real variety of people too.
Oh, yeah.
Some older married ladies,
Oh, yes.
and you know, kids starting out like us. When it, you know,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was, and everybody got along, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Miss
And we
Bar-
had some of the older ladies that came to work, they didn't want full shifts. So they just had part-time shifts, like, you know, whenever. And Hannah Barr used to set up a schedule and stuff. And she was a little Scotch woman. And she was lucky if she was 4 feet tall. But she
was
knew how to
tiny.
rule the roost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was kind to us all and, you know, kept us in trim, so to speak. And then we had a payphone in the corner of the building where people came in and made phone calls, and lots of times they'd be inebriated. And so, of course, there'd be a few words going by, you know. But it always worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, Miss Barr might have been 4 feet high with her heels on.
Oh, yes.
Lordy, she was small.
Very tiny. Yeah.
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 So one of the other things is this Telephone Talk, this magazine. So that was a magazine that the BC Telephone Company put out for the employees, was it?
I'm not sure exactly why they put it out, but there's a lot of stuff about operators and stuff and things in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, who got married, who died, you know.
yeah,
So it must be like a PR
Yeah, it could be.
could be.
Yeah. or HR. HR, I guess, is what it's called now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's changed.
A few things have changed.
Oh yeah.
So while you were working for them, how many years did you stay
I worked
on?
for 7 years.
For 7 years, and then you went,
Then I joined the Air Force,
right.
and I went from there to Coal Lake, Alberta.
And you guys have managed to keep in touch and stay friends all these years. That's what just flabbergasts me. I'm just in awe of the fact that you did it. My best friend and I have been best friends for 68 years, and we're very proud of that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping we make it as long as you guys did.
Yeah, we did well because I was the one that actually left Victoria. Evie and Babe both stayed here, and I don't know how long afterwards Babe got married and started a family, but I was 27 when I got married, and Evie was younger than that, I think.
Yeah, I was 22 when we
Yeah.
decided to start up. But it was funny, Babe and I were in Victoria, but we're both busy raising our families. We would see each other once in a while, but it wasn't a
Periodically,
constant thing.
you know.
But then Lorraine would come home and the three of us would get together, you know.
Yeah, I'd have leave from the Air Force, and I'd come home and see my parents, and I'd visit these guys, you know.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
even when I got married, I used to come back, and because we didn't always live here, and I'd come and visit Evie and visit Babe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was.
I remember you and Bob coming one evening and we were having wine and Bob was showing us his routine with he used to be a waiter in the
Oh yes.
in the bar at the
He
Air
used
Force
to work in the
so he
officers'
put
mess.
a towel over his arm and brought our wine in.
Oh yeah.
Hilarious.
Oh yeah.
He had a ball.
It was, you know, sort of like fun times. We
Well,
just-
sure. And isn't it fun to sit down and just
Oh,
talk about them?
Oh God.
Remember them. It gives you a warm place in your heart, I think.
well, when I went once and I had a false tooth in the front here, and I got a little bit exuberated and had to barf and lost my tooth.
Oh, dear.
And of course, then they went out looking for it and found it on the top of one of my little what names, and there it was. Oh, crikey! It's just it was like we never really had any squabbles of any kind.
No, we never did.
Evie and I once decided we should go horseback riding.
Uh-huh.
Well, neither one of us had been on a horse. So we were going to ride for the day.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we rode till noon, and we had enough. So we decided that it was time to take them back. So we took them back, and we didn't realize we weren't in too good a shape after we got off that horse. Oh, it was for 2 or 3 days afterwards we were suffering.
I can just imagine.
Oh God,
I've been there, done that.
we used to take our bikes and ride to Beaver Lake and swim and come back. We rode all over that area on our bikes.
Went everywhere.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it's a good idea to go to the lake when it was so hot. But by the time you got home, you wondered why on earth you went.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the telephone company was pretty good about doing reunions and stuff, and I know you guys were involved in some of them, but in was it 1991 they did a 100-year celebration?
Yeah.
I went to that.
Did you go to that one?
Yes, and there weren't very many people there that I knew.
Oh,
Babe and Evie didn't go,
No.
and I know that a few others went, but I don't know if Alberta McNutt might have gone or not, but there was a couple of others went. But
The telephone company sent out these packages. I've got my badge, and there was all sorts of information, pens, and with BC Tel on it. And it was properly done. That's for
it was
sure.
held at the Racket Club.
oh, nice.
The 100-year reunion was.
Yeah.
And at the time, I happened to be a member of the Racket Club because my daughter was a figure skater. And I did some work for the Racket Club for their summer school, and I got a line on a membership, which was usually $800 or better, and I got it for $400. So I bought it because my daughter was a figure skater, and so she could skate at the rink for nothing compared to you just paid your monthly fee.
Right.
And it was a lot cheaper than going to the rinks and having to pay for patch and all the rest
Yeah,
of it. You know?
right, for sure. That was something else I was going to ask you, seeing as you brought up how much it costs for a membership. Do either of you remember what your wage was when you first started working in 1947?
One of those chits in the envelope that I had might have had our starting wage on it, but I don't know where it is.
No, I didn't see anything on either one of them.
Yeah, we kind of looked.
Yeah.
But there was one in there somewhere that said what my wages were, but I can't.
Are you
remember.
talking about the leave of absence sheet that you had to fill out?
I don't think so.
Because that's something else that we need to have a good picture of, what you had to go through to get a day off. Oh my gosh, you just about had to sign over your firstborn.
Oh, it was like, well, because when I handed in my resignation, they didn't want to accept it. And so they told me that I should take a leave of absence. Because what happened to me was, like Evie, I got sick and I got ulcers. And so I got a leave of absence for 3 months. And I went to Sprott Shaw like Evie did. But I didn't look into things enough. And I was taking too much stuff. And I didn't get anywhere. So I went back to work after 3 months because I'd run out of money because I was paying my own way. And that's when I sat down beside a girl who had just joined the Air Force. And so that's what got me into doing it.
Mm.
I went down, and I didn't even think I would get in because you're supposed to have grade 10, and I didn't have grade 10. But I got in. And I spent 7 years in the service as well. It was just one of those things, you know.
Yeah. I think in some of the paperwork that we were looking at, there was a thing, and I think it was the 100-year reunion. They had a prize for the person that could produce their oldest pay stub. So did you keep any of your pay stubs?
I didn't.
There was one of mine in there, but I don't know where it is.
Yeah, it's in one of the envelopes.
It could be, yeah.
But it was, Mrs. Lowndes was one of the people in the running, our night operator.
Yes.
Longest employment sort of thing. But one lady had been, oh God, I forget how many years. It's unbelievable how long some people worked at the same company.
Well, because at the time, BC Tel was a good company to work for.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for females being operators and stuff like that. And like when we went from Colquitt's to downtown, Babe didn't work as an operator anymore. She worked on the desk. I don't know what she did, whether she did the papers for shift work or whatever. I don't know what she did. Because she was the senior one from our building, she worked in the office right on the same floor as we worked as operators, but she was on the desk.
Oh, so like reception or something.
Yeah.
See, Evie wasn't there at that time.
No. Was there very many men operators, or was it mostly
it was
just
mostly
women?
there was no men that I know of.
No, apparently, originally, operators were men. But when they started with the women, they said, geez, their fingers are more agile, better at it.
Yeah.
And so then it was just females after that.
Oh, yeah. No.
So you also, besides their 100-year reunion, you guys also had some like 35-year
well, I
reunions
organized
and stuff.
one.
You organized it. Okay, I read the paperwork
that was
on that.
behind, where the white spot was on Douglas Street?
Yes.
Well, behind that there was a hotel. And that's where we had that reunion. And there were several pictures of all the women that were in that.
Yeah, we've got pictures of that.
Of that Colquitt's reunion.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a 35 years and 45 years.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, we did a 2 or 3, and Babe and Evie and I kept it going for a long, long time. Every April the 29th or 8th.
Yeah.
28th or 29th, when we closed the office on Wilkinson Road, we'd have a reunion every year.
And be at your house one time and Babe's house.
And we did it that we were at somebody's house each time, but it was mostly Babe and Evie and I that did it. But we had quite a few, and about the last good one, there was about 8 people at it.
Yeah. It was amazing because you had a list, you'd phone, and some people were just not interested. And other people, Lisa Loretz, people like that, we'd all come year after year.
Yeah,
it was lovely. And it was nice to get together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and Babe always had a nice house, and so we oftentimes went to Babe's place. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the ones that you guys organized. Did the company do any others besides their 100-year reunion?
Not that I recall.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that was pretty posh, that one.
Yeah, I would think 100 years.
Well,
Yeah.
and it was at the Racket Club, so it's all catered to and everything like
Right.
that. And they were, the Racket Club was sort of an elite club kind of thing at the time.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Yeah, our little annual ones were the ones I enjoyed.
Oh,
You
yes.
get to talk to the same people, what have you been doing for the last year?
Yeah, and
sort of
probably
thing.
most of them were people you worked with.
Yeah.
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 Whereas with the 100-year reunion, it would be people from all over the place.
Well, because
Whoops.
Mrs. Bradshaw, she worked for the Victoria Telephone Office. Well, her ex-husband married one of our operators in our area after he left Mrs. Bradshaw, Alvarado McNutt, which is McNutt's on the corner of Wilkinson.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed from your invitation sheet there that there's several names on there that are recognizable by the Royal Oak Historical Association because they're people that either grew up in Royal Oak or
Yeah.
Isn't
were
that
part
nice?
of the Royal Oak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Morgan Osler, who when you first open up the Royal Oak Schoolyard, when you go into their YouTube or into the Shaw Spotlight, that saying that they have posted at the beginning, Morgan wrote that saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she was Ruth Scott when she worked.
She
for
was
us.
Ruth Scott as far
Yeah.
as we knew, you see.
And
Yeah.
her sister worked there too.
Yeah, and
Yes,
they're both
Grace.
members of the Royal Oak Historical
Yeah,
Association.
Grace.
Yeah.
Grace lived in Vancouver.
Yeah, I think she's up island now.
Could be. Yeah.
I think they're both up island actually.
Yeah. Well, Ruth, who became O'Morgan, what her husband was the mayor of Campbell River at one time,
Oh,
and then when he retired or died or whatever, I think he died, she was mayor for a year or two or something too.
oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
But
I've only
She-
talked to her by email.
she was Ruth Scott to
Yeah.
start with,
Yeah.
and
Well, we had lots of people where the mum worked at the office, and then the kid, the
Hines.
daughter would come to the
Doreen
office.
Hines
Mrs.
and
Hines and
Mrs.
Doreen,
Hines.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a family affair.
Yeah. And then we had young lady Joan, what was Joan's last name now? And she married Todd. Oh, crikey, what was his name? And they lived on the corner of Wilkinson and Interurban, across from where, who was the man that ran Straught Shaw?
Lloyd Watkins.
Lord Watkins lived across the street,
Yeah.
and he ran Sprott Shaw. And Ebby went to Sprott Shaw. I went to Sprott Shaw. It was sort of, I don't know, it was quite a good knit between the people around, you know.
So they used to say, well, when I was growing up, which I'm not that far behind you guys, but I'm getting there. Either the government or Woodward's were the two places that you wanted to go to work for.
Yeah.
Because that was the longevity, if you wanted a job that you were going to keep for a long
Yeah.
time,
Yes.
and plus have all the perks and stuff.
Yeah.
And I tried the government, and I wasn't a fast enough typer, so I managed to get into Woodward's and stayed with them for 22 years. But
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Well,
Yeah,
Woodward's
yeah.
is a nice place to work.
they were
for.
an awesome company to work for,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it sounds like the BC Telephone Company was just as good. They certainly provided you with was part of your package. Did you have like profit sharing, or did you have health plans, or?
I don't remember really. I don't remember anything.
No,
do
the
you?
only thing I remember was the credit union.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then like Frank Hurley worked in our office with what was the guy's name? The other fellow, Dave. Was it Dave? Who was the fixer-upper guy?
Oh, Mr.
Robertson.
Robinson, yeah.
Dave Robertson. Well, Mr. Hurley, he was the one that got all we girls to join Victel Credit Union.
He was the janitor.
He was the janitor.
Yeah.
And then Dave Robertson was well known in the BC Tel because he retired too
Yeah.
from BC Tel. And there's a picture of Frank Hurley and Dave Robertson cleaning the snow out to get into the building from the walkways and stuff.
I was stumbling there when you said Robinson because everybody called him Robbie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know his name was Dave.
yeah. But,
It was there were certain repairmen that used to
yes.
always come on. You knew
Lefebvre was one of them.
if one of the boards was acting up, you phoned the Miss Barr phoned and the same repairman would come, so you got to know them. It was nice.
See, and when I started, I guess when Evie started maybe too, there were only 4 boards. And then when we finished, there was 8. And that was the maximum that system could handle. And that was one reason why when they went automatic, they had to include us.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't give service otherwise.
But you know what, when you were in training, you had your headset on,
Yeah.
and you plugged in to a board of a senior operator, and you got to hear how she handled the different some people were nice, some weren't. You got to know how to handle people.
Yeah.
And what the routine was, and
So they had like training sessions for you.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, we trained for 3 weeks, I think it was.
I can't remember.
But it was, I think it was a couple of dollars a day sort of thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't much.
Can't
But
remember.
it was so really interesting because, like, if you plugged in with Alvaretta, she was so smooth with everybody.
Yes.
And you plug in with Mrs. Hines, it was a little different. She had a different way of handling people. It was, and you picked your style and went with it.
Yeah.
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 And it stayed with you all these years.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, like there's lots of things that I remember from Woodward's that hasn't left me either. So, so now you guys are still friends after all these years. You still keep in touch with one another, which I think is just amazing.
Huh.
And your children, bless their hearts, contribute to making sure that you guys can get together. So
Oh,
that
yes.
is really good.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, they're very good at helping us out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like
last
my
October, the girls organized the 3 of us and our 3 daughters all went to Romeo's for lunch.
Oh, nice.
And I think we must have made a fair amount of noise because I was in the washroom and one lady said to me, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, it's a reunion. There's 3 of us. We're 92. We're getting it." And by the time we left, everybody was saying goodbye to us.
That's kind of nice,
Yeah,
isn't
it
it?
was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Makes it all worthwhile.
Tess and the 2 Susans hadn't seen each other. I don't think Tess had met Babe Sue.
no.
Yeah, so they got together again.
Yeah,
It was nice.
yeah. Good memories, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Super, yeah.
yeah. Well, I really want to thank you both for enlightening us about how it was back then and sharing your life stories. And we're probably going to take some pictures of the stuff that's on the table so that people can see what you used.
Okay.
Lovely.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
No.
And you know, the funny thing is, I'm the eldest of the 3.
Yes.
Oh, bless
See,
you.
this is the baby.
Oh, you're the baby.
And I'm the baby.
I was born in August, Babe in September, and Lorraine in October.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
So this is the baby of the group.
All in a row. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, that's really good.
I mean, it's and to think, and like Babe and I lived together for 2 years, I think, or not 2, nearly 2. And Babe always says, we never had any words,
Yeah.
and we had a couch that made our bed that we went into, and then after we were in that one room for 3-4 months, I don't know exactly what it was, we got 2 rooms side by side. Holy wow. And we didn't have any water in the rooms. We had to go across the hall to get water out of the bathroom
Oh my goodness.
to make tea or whatever. And to go and shower, we had to go shower in this shower, you know. It was, but it was, there was no arguing, oh, well, you went yesterday at that time and I need to go now. There was none of that. We just did it. And then Babe and I would walk up to Blanchard Street to work. And we thought it was just so great when you hear all the stories today about walk up Blanchard Street by yourselves. Or if we were both on the same shift, we'd go in the morning together. We might not come home together, but it was so easy.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, Victoria was much easier, period, then than it is now.
Yes, for sure. I want to thank you once again, Evelyn Paterson and Lorraine Hartley. I'm sorry your friend Babe wasn't able to be with us today, but I'm glad to hear that she's doing well, and I know that you guys are looking forward to going and seeing her.
Yeah. We should try and make an appointment and go see her.
Yeah.
Eh?
So with that
one at a
said,
time,
there's
then.
one closing thought that I would like to share, and this is for everybody because I think it's so pertinent. I ran across this saying just recently and it just struck home, and this is why the Royal Oak Historical Association is who we are and why we go after people's stories. So the quote that I saw was, "When the elderly die, a library is lost and volumes of wisdom and knowledge are gone." This is why we tape stories, and this is why we like to record them and share them with the communities at large. Thank
Yes.
you.